Hello and welcome back. So the new update has arrived, a lot of new changes, and of course, most importantly, the sovereignty system has been introduced into the game. That means players can build citadels now, and well, large-scale PvP battles are about to happen. And well, I am very excited for those. And of course, there are some changes in the storylines and a very noticeable change in the game graphics. The graphics became a lot more precise, a lot more accurate, and the ships have gotten a lot more details on them, which does use a lot more resources, but the game is a lot prettier than it was before. I'm not quite sure if you will notice the changes, but tell me in the comments if you do. Now on to the missions. The tier 7 and above missions were changed, the last wave was removed, and of course the reward was reduced a little bit. And well, overall I think that was a good choice because the tier 8 and tier 9 missions especially were very long and the elite battleships were very tanky. Now I am about to test a couple missions out just to see how they look and to see if clearing them is actually faster now. Now of course the reward reduction is in some cases bad, but overall you can clear the missions faster now, and well, I am going to be testing that out with my Cynabal. Now this ship is very good. So far I did not change its fit, I have to replace one or two rigs only. As you can see, most of the modules, well not most of the modules, all of the modules are actually the same as before. Now I know that this fit is a glass cannon, but I rely on the speed. It is mostly a speed tank. So far no issues, no problems with storylines, no problems with these encounter missions, I hope. And overall this ship has been my personal flagship, and at the moment saving up for the Sister of Eve ships. They are going to be very interesting. Now for the other fittings that you will see here, I will use several. Most of them are going to be oriented around the autocannons and around the DPS, but of course some of the fits that you will see here are going to revolve around a more balanced build where the ship will have a little bit more resistance while trading the DPS a little bit. So I hope that it will be interesting to experiment around with this ship. And well, I think it is time to jump out and to jump in the first mission. Now, what is interesting about the tier 9 missions? You will face battleships. Now battleships usually aren't a big problem because if you have a cruiser or battle cruiser, you can safely shoot them down from long range, or if you are in a cruiser you can speed tank them because they usually have weapons that can't track smaller, faster moving targets. You can theoretically do these missions in a frigate. I will have to test that out because the large artillery, for example, and the large missiles will have a problem to hit the fast moving frigate, and the same principle can be applied to cruisers. Now the Cynabal isn't a small ship. Actually this ship is one of the longest cruisers in the game. The ship's hull is 533 meters long, and it is actually longer than some battle cruisers. Now I don't know how did they get away with calling this ship a cruiser, because it is anything but a cruiser if you look by the sheer size of this thing, but it is a cruiser and its signature radius is 70 meters, pretty small compared to its actual hull size, and it's also very fast, so a speed tank is going to work really well on this ship. So I am not going to take too much damage from the missiles from that battleship and from that battle cruiser. Of course, besides this mission, I will roll other missions. I think I'll also do a Mimata one, because those can be very dangerous because of the target painters that you will find in the Mimata ships. And of course there are some elite ships that I want to fight just to see how this fit will stand against them. Okay, I see a elite rock. Oh, okay, that ship can be a problem. Now, back before the update, these missions usually did have one or two or even several battleships with MVDs that were going around 3000 meters per second, that were orbiting around your ship at 30 kilometers. They did have webs and in some cases scramblers or disruptors, but in this case I don't see this ship going after me, so I would assume that they removed those super fast elite ships. Now that is good because these missions are safer to do now, and of course bad because you used to get good bounties from these ships. Now I'm about to see how much bounty I'll get from this battleship. I think it should be around 1 million. I'm not quite sure, but I guess I'll find that out. This is my fit with the cannons. Mostly the same. The only difference is I use the cannons instead of the auto cannons. This fit is a little bit more safer because I can orbit at 30, 40, even 50 kilometers and I can still hit the target, but it has lower DPS, higher alpha damage though, so if you want to go for alpha, then the artillery is a good choice. So far they can carry a web and disruptor, especially the small frigates and destroyers, but the more larger vehicles don't carry those, and as usual focus down on the frigates and destroyers. After that you can go after the elites or the other ships. Now this ship here is tanky. It is a elite ship after all, and it has the shield armor and hull of a elite ship. Not necessarily a problem, but it can take some time to shoot this thing down. If I had autocannons, I would have shot down this ship a lot faster, because the autocannons have 1.4 thousand DPS, 905 DPS cold, not bad. I am aiming for a little bit higher DPS, and I am definitely going to reach that number very soon. Now these are cavalry ships. They tank shields. They have shield extenders, and that shield extender can be quite a, well, not a problem, but it takes some time to shoot it down. But once you go past their shields, the armor and hull is usually where their weaker side is, and after you pretty much shoot down the shield, then the rest of the ship will fall down a lot faster. That's a typical trait of cavalry ships. Now the whole design of this ship is nice, I like it, but I like the Mackerel and the Megatron designs a lot more. And that was a big explosion. You have to remember that these ships make pretty explosions, and I can tell you they did improve the graphics in that perspective a lot. So it's interesting. Although I have to say I did have some performance issues. Not quite sure if the CPU part or the GPU part is taking the hit. Might be both, but I did have frame rate issues. Not quite sure if there is still more optimization to be done. I think they will improve on that, but the new graphics are definitely very nice, and they turned my phone into a oven. But it was totally worth it. Okay, well, on to the next wave. Might be the last wave actually, because they have removed one wave, and there goes one more battleship. That's a very nice explosion. I am definitely going to be excited for carriers, dreadnoughts, super carriers, and of course for titans. they will have very pretty explosions that I will have to record. And well, that battleship went down and 2 of these ships are left. And yes, this is the last wave. After you clear this wave, then the mission should end. The missions that are up to 10 million ISK in worth are going to be a little bit easier than the missions that are going up to 20, 30 or even 50 million. You can actually find some of these sub-storyline missions to be giving you as much as a storyline. Of course, that is because you are going to fight battleships and you're going to fight elite battleships. They can be a problem, but in most cases they are not going to be an issue. Now, I am doing Mimitar and Calder missions because I have this ship is using turrets, and if you are planning to do armor missions, I recommend to use drone boats or ships that use missiles, because they have tracking disruptors and they can sure mess up the tracking of the ship, and they can sure mess up tracking of all turrets in the game. So you definitely have to have a specific ship for a specific mission in order to complete them as quickly as possible and as safe as possible. So far, I am shooting down these ships in a very fast time rate. Now I have to say, this ship looks very nice. I haven't seen a Typhoon in a while. Well, I'm about to blow away the Typhoon because these ships usually don't have a good tank. They can be both shield and armor tank, but they can have, however, they can have very good DPS, and they should be cheaper compared to the other battleships. And so far, this Cynabal is also doing a good job. You would be surprised to see how long the Cynabal is if I were to go next to this Typhoon. It's actually almost the same length as this battleship, and I am really wondering how did they get away to call this ship a cruiser. It's not a cruiser by any means in size. It's actually longer than some battle cruisers. Now I'm not quite sure if the ship weight has anything to do with that. I mean, battle cruisers sure should weight more than cruisers, so I guess because the ship might be lighter, I have no idea. It can, however, mow down most of the battle cruisers in a fair 1v1 because the ship actually has more DPS than some assault battle cruisers, and that is kinda scary if you think about it. The bonuses on this ship are insane. Okay, well, that was a beautiful explosion, and now I will proceed to shoot down the rest of these ships. As you can see, so far quite enjoyable actually. These missions became a lot more chill than last time I did them. They are using a lot less time because one less wave is definitely helping a lot. And the bounty rewards are nice, so you can do a lot more of these missions per day than before, and you can actually make good ISK with these missions because I'm doing missions that are worth 4.5 million, 30 million ISK, and I am clearing them a lot faster than I clear storylines. So definitely a very good alternative way to earn ISK, because storylines can be very dangerous, storylines can be very long, and doing a couple of these missions is definitely faster and in most cases a lot safer than doing a storyline. Oh, a Maelstrom using missile launchers. Right, well that's something that I did not see in a while. And these ships do have very nice hull designs. I mean, they sure did improve the graphics a lot. The game is super sharp and the ships are super detailed. Now I'm not quite sure if it's because I play this game in 4K. I'm not quite sure if that has anything to do with that, but I think the change in graphics should be noticeable on all devices. Now this maelstrom is having a very bad day. Battleships are truly defenseless if you manage to orbit around them at close range, especially the millimeter ones, because the tracking on the large autocannons and on the large artillery is not that good. Now, of course, if you have webifers or scramblers or bonuses on webs like the Vindicator, that can help a lot. And from battleships, I think the Vindicator might be one of the more deadlier ones because it has bonuses on webs and it does have very nice DPS. If I decide to get one of these, I'll have maybe 5 to 6k DPS, not quite sure, but in most cases I think I will go with the Macariel and the Tornado. The Tornado can have very good alpha damage. Alpha strike on that ship can be very high, and a fleet of Tornadoes can do a lot of damage. That would be, well, that was again another beautiful explosion. The alpha on the Tornado can be offered for some very, very interesting fleet operations, and it opens up the window for a lot of tactics. Imagine what 20 Tornadoes can do if they focus on one single ship. All of them just fire at one ship at once. That's a lot of damage, and they can pop almost anything. Of course, it depends on skills, but on average, my Tornado on the test server was hitting anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000. So that's a lot of damage. Well, one more Typhoon is going to get blown away into space. Now I'm just looking at the overall hull of the ship. They actually even improved the damage models, and that's also a very nice detail. Orbiting at 4 kilometers. Now, optimal range with these turrets, it says 2 kilometers, but you can orbit safely around 20 kilometers and you are still going to be able to hit them without a problem. And the DPS output is very nice. This battleship just has no way to damage me, and the current fit, even though it is a glass cannon, it does survive quite well against these missions, and so far absolutely no problems. The capacitor is also surprisingly stable, even though it says only 3 minutes 25 seconds, I believe. And so far I haven't run out of cap on this ship. Of course, for PvP you can use a neutralizer or a NAS, because in some cases you will face enemies that will have neutralizers, but in most cases you will shoot down the enemy ship before they can drain your capacitor, because the ship just has ridiculous DPS. Well, and what is this? I have 2 Maelstroms now. Okay, this is a 5.5 million ISK mission, so you will have to shoot a couple battleships. Both of them use, I think, artillery, or one of them is using artillery, the other one autocannons. But again, there is no way that these ships can hit me at this range and at this velocity. Kinda very confusing to have a cruiser that's 533 meters long to have a 70 signature radius, but I guess okay. I guess they do have some very good thermal isolation on the ship to reduce the signature radius. That's very impressive. Angel technology, one of the best in the game. Well, that's definitely a beautiful sight, orbiting two very large battleships at close range. Definitely good for some screenshots. My apologies for doing screenshots, I just can't. I just have to have them. Might be good thumbnail, I don't know, depends. That one was perfect, by the way. Okay, focusing on that maelstrom now. Its shield is slowly going down. Now these ships can sometimes carry webs and other electronic warfare modules, so be careful. But even if they manage to web me, they are not going to be able to hit me because of, well, large turrets at close range don't work. And I am orbiting around them while they are trying to orbit around me. They are spinning. I think you can easily do these with a faction frigate. Well, I'll have to test that out one day. Definitely, I'll do that one day. Okay, now the ship is on its hull. The other maelstrom is, well, watching the other maelstrom getting shut down. Okay, doing some decent damage to them. I think I can push out a little bit more DPS out of this ship with the current skills, but I'll definitely wait for the right moment to do that. Waiting for the new rigs to come out. The new rigs are definitely going to help my DPS a lot. I expect 1.1 thousand cold DPS on this ship. And now on to the last surviving maelstrom. These ships they take some time to shoot down, but usually they are just bullet sponges. They don't do too much damage to. Now, of course, keep in mind, don't stand in place while being 40 or 30 kilometers away from these ships, because they can do some damage if they manage to catch your ship while standing still in space or while doing the approach or the approach. In that case, they can hit you, and that might be, they can do some nasty damage in that case. But if you are orbiting like I do, then you should be safe, because there is just no way that the turrets can track you. So be careful. A frigate can have a easy time around these ships because a frigate is small and fast, and these turrets again have slow tracking speed, so you can easily slip under the turrets of these ships, and you can easily shoot them down. That's why I always say focus on the fast ships first, and then you focus on the larger ships, because the smaller ships carry webs, scramblers, and these modules can make the big ships hit you. So as always, shoot down the smaller ships before you go to shoot down the battleships and battlecruisers. The more you are dependent on speed to survive, the more that principle becomes important. And well, this battleship was destroyed, and well, that was a nice explosion. would be good if all ships had different explosions, but I guess this will have to do for now. So far it's been really good. And well, the last ship of this mission left, and well, that was very nice. I have to admit, the new update is good. Overall, nice changes and nice content. I hope you enjoyed. Stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.